Hey everyone, welcome to the program WRSA Radio. I am your host, Grenadier One. As always, I hope you're having a good week. Guys, it's been a productive one for me. I got a lot of things done around the place as I have family coming in next week. So you have to get around all those things that you've put off to another day. And when you have people coming over and people in town and things like that, well, another day has arrived. So I spent most of the week sorting out a lot of small jobs, a lot of small things, and even a few big ones. As you know, get off work and do as much as you can in the evenings. I have been paying attention though to the things going on around us as always, and I've even found time to squeeze in a meetup with Concerned American from the mothership for coffee. So all in all, it's been a good one. So what are we talking about today? Well, the last couple of weeks we have seen what I have decided to begin calling Public Displays of Affliction, as in afflicted with wokeness, and feeling the need to virtue signal to everyone that you're supportive and affirming the woke agenda. Everyone has seen Bud Light do this or Anheuser-Busch do this, and how it has epically backfired on them. The sales for Anheuser-Busch products have absolutely tanked. It got bad enough that they fired the women who made the marketing decisions behind that entire campaign. Well, this week it came to light that retail giant Target has decided to go down the very same path of self-destruction. It was revealed that Target was marketing and selling a line of clothing for very young children designed to alter the appearance or conceal the appearance of reproductive organs. That was along with the rainbow-colored articles of clothing and clothing with pro-alphabet slogans. And that's not even mentioning the slogans that literally had the message that Satan approves your pronouns on these clothes. And you don't say. That's how interesting. This, of course, is madness. And as word of this spread, Target had to have some emergency meetings to decide what to do about this, and they determined that if they just moved the merchandise to the back of the store, that it would somehow solve the problem, and it would all just go away and people would stop paying attention to it. Well, that's not what happened. Target posted a market cap loss of about $9 billion within a matter of a couple of days of this coming out. And of course, this is a major hit. This is not something that is easy to recover from. This, I believe, will lead to some people losing their jobs at Target. At least it should. We'll probably see some of that coming down the pipe here very soon, if not by the time you hear this episode. But Target released an internal email to its employees that was leaked to the public, at least on some websites, to address some of this fallout. And reading the email, which I'll post in the video for you to read for yourself, it doesn't look like they're very contrite or even admitting that they have completely shit the bed on this one at all. It didn't really address the pushback at all, except to insinuate that it was somehow the fault and the problem of people who were perhaps racist or bigoted. It even managed to loop in the memory of George Floyd into this, although one fails to see what he has to do with anything going on with Target or anything to do with transgender or gay people. George Floyd was a lot of things, but I don't think that he was transgender or gay. So why are you even bringing him up? It's just more patronizing behavior from these corporate vermin. And don't think for one second that Target is the last one to do this and learn the lesson the hard way. No. A long string of companies have already jumped in line to be the next ones to profess their support for this woke agenda. North Face, Adidas, just on and on and on. There was a whole bunch that have this week or within the last week or two gone down this path. And you would think that losing billions of dollars would clue corporate boardrooms into the fact that a significant majority of Americans do not support this level of wokeness. There are a lot of things that modern America will accept and live with, but targeting children with this kind of propaganda is not one of them. At least, thankfully, not yet. Okay, and that's, make no mistake, that's the whole goal behind this messaging, of course, is to naturalize and acclimatize the people to accept this as normal and perfectly acceptable, and something that should start at a very young age. It's none of those things, actually. See, we're conditioned to believe that the corporate boardrooms and corporate vermin are motivated completely by money, and that boycotting these big companies will result in such financial losses that they will eventually learn that this is radioactive material and they have to stay away from it. And that's the logical and rational pathway that should happen. That's the way it should be. You would think, at least in their thinking, the best thing to do would be to say nothing. Don't comment on any of these social matters. You know, you exist to serve a purpose, and that purpose is to sell me consumer goods at a fair price. And that's it. I don't give a crap about your values and your beliefs of your employees or your board members or your shareholders. I expect and accept that you are doing these things to make money, and I'm fine with that. As long as you provide me the goods and services that I want at what I think is a fair price, and you maintain a clean and pleasant shopping experience, then that's it. It's not actually that difficult. Okay, that's all we need. We don't need virtue signaling that we know is BS anyway. The minute that, you know, these made-up social holidays are over, you're throwing that crap into the bargain bin to get rid of it as fast as you can. So we know that you really don't mean this stuff anyway. So just say nothing. Say nothing. People bemoan companies being just about the money, but, you know, at least you know what you're dealing with when you're dealing with something or someone who's just a naked capitalist. That's something you can understand. But that's not good enough, though. That's not good enough for the wokester agenda pushers. That's not what is acceptable to these people. These HRVPs and marketing spellcasters that inhabit these companies are not motivated by profit. They're crusaders, and they're on a mission. At least they believe that they're on a mission. So boycotts may have some effect on the financial statements of these companies, but bear in mind there are forces at work behind the scenes that are also driving some of these moves. And I've talked about this before on the show in the past, where I've talked about boycotts. I don't normally agree with them. I don't normally follow them because I think that it's, as I said, it's better for these companies to just say nothing. In some ways, it's better for us not to say anything either and just do. People call for boycotts. People call for these things. And if they don't materialize, if nothing happens, then that becomes sort of a tacit approval of the behavior. So it's better to say nothing and just do. And if you want to boycott, well, I'm not going to shop there anymore. Just do it. Don't speak about it. Don't say anything about it. And that way, if nothing happens, then you don't lose any position. The other thing is, losses are not always a bad thing to experience in the corporate world to some extent. Especially here, to get future money, many of these companies are willing to take a loss of share price and what they will see as a temporary dip in sales. And that's kind of the rub here. Is there are loans and financing that is being judged by this diversity, equity, inclusion score, and they can't deal with taking the hit on that score. That's some very complex sort of behind-the-scenes corporate finance dealings going on, and you should be asking yourself who's behind those deals, okay? And maybe maybe that's something that will come out in the near future, but in the meantime, we just have to talk about these foot soldiers that are involved in this. The name of this episode is Hard Choices. So what do I mean there? Well, I want you to do something for me. I want you to imagine that the conflict is in full swing, that the war is going strong, and that you are now faced with some decisions that have to be made. There are hard choices that are coming. And how do we handle these people, these foot soldiers, these people who are pushing these kind of agendas? How do we handle multiple generations of broken women? Unless you have a plan, then you're planning to fail, as the saying goes. So you need to be working through these things in your head now, so that when you are confronted with this, head on, face on, you'll have an understanding of what has to be done. Now, let me preface this by saying that I don't have the answer here. I at least in every situation, and I'm not trying to pretend that I do and try to give you the answer. It's very easy to throw out blanket statements, and I'm making some blanket statements here in this piece. But it's very easy to throw those out there about how to handle a situation, this situation, that situation, whatever. But it's very different when they are actual people involved and they're staring you in the face. Okay, when you're dealing with this on the ground, in the mud and the blood, things are a lot different. There are a lot of women who cannot be saved. They are too far gone, so absorbed with self-hatred and regret that they've turned that outward and blamed the world for all of their, host of problems. They cannot be helped. You will not get through to them. You will not be able to reason with them. Now, rest assured that many of them will not last very long in this coming future. For various reasons, they will not be a problem anymore. But some of them will. And then there are a lot of women who are still young enough and still relatively unexposed to this corrupting nature of modern society that they will be fine. They will correct as soon as things get bad, and they'll figure out that their father was right all along, after all. And they will know what they need to do to be normal again. And then there are a lot of women who are in the middle of all of that. Somewhere in between those two extremes. There are women in the middle who are indeed normal, and it will be on them to provide a guiding hand to those that can be saved because of that group in the middle there, or that group at the other end, that can be reasoned with. The big group of females who are somewhere between too far gone and still worthy of being saved. They will need role models and women who can teach them the things that their mothers did not. And those middle ground women, they'll need father figures too. And this is where I'm getting into hard choices here. There's a time coming where you and your spouse are going to be put in a position that you will have to raise young people again, for some of you again, for some of you for the first time. And this is going to be hard because it's going to be hard enough for the two of you to get along by yourselves, much less take in a young female or male who needs a good home. Someone has to do this, and if you want a future that is worth living in, then it's going to have to be us that steps up and does that. You and your wife, you and your husband, whoever you are listening. That's a hard choice. And there's another hard choice, though. And what do we do with all those that can't be saved? Now, I'm focusing here on females, as you may notice, because it's more than likely that the males who are too far gone will already be sorting themselves out in one way or another. Okay, Females do not tend to follow the same lines and paths that males do, so this is more likely something that you will have to face that will be somewhat morally or more difficult for you to deal with. What do you do with the old cat lady down the street who just can't mind her own business and keeps insisting that you conform to wokeness and government enforcement? Do you think just leaving her alone is the answer? Do you think she will not turn you in to earn a pat on the head from her woke gangster party bosses? She will roll on you and turn you in for a case of puppy food before you can sniff. She's going to be a problem. But if it's not her, it's going to be someone else. It may even be someone in your family. And that's the hard part here, the hard choices we are facing. What do you do? Like I said, I can't give you the answer here because each situation is going to be different. What I can tell you is that people like that, they have no place in the rebuilding of civilization. They should, at a minimum, be subjected to silence. Meaning, you get no say in the matter. You will sit and you will be quiet and you will go along with what normal people are putting into place, and you will stay silent going forward. And we will put things into place, rules, laws, things into place that will keep you silent going forward. We tried to live in the world that these kinds of people are building, and we found it depraved and deprived, lacking both style and substance, and devoid of spirit. A fake and perverted world that cannot sustain itself. So we've seen what they want. We've seen what their ideas are and what their suggestions are. We don't need to hear it anymore. We don't need that kind of input. Now, take from that what you will and apply it to the situation that you are in, what you think you might face, what you think you might encounter. Now, before I close out, I want to remind you all that I will not be posting a show this time next week. However, I'm not leaving you for want of your WRSA content. I will be posting the interview with Chris Muir from Day by Day, probably the evening of the 26th. So you'll get back-to-back episodes, a double shot of WRSA Radio this week, and I hope you enjoy that episode as well as this one. So with that is all I have time for this week. Like and subscribe. Come see us over on Gab and the Mothership, and I will see you on the next episode.